I've got a 2-word pitch. Let me give my 2-word pitch.
Okay,
Ready?
okay.
Hit it.
Bosch Lieberman.
I was going to say Bosch season 11, but Bosch Legacy.
Bosch Lieberman's way better.
He's a burly car lover, lumberjack looking guy. He's a cranky private eye. Together, they make magic.
Yeah, there are lots of nice cars here, Titus. You haven't been here for a while.
No, I haven't. You have lots of new stuff.
It's so exciting to see you again. Well, this is Zuckerman stuff. You were here with Zuckerman.
Yeah. But there's a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
The last time you had the Aston Martin SUV, I remember.
EX,
which we were
707,
critiquing.
What did we think about it?
We didn't like the interior.
Is that the 707?
It was a 707.
I love that.
And it was in a funky green. It had kind of a muscle car, like lime green look to it.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It had like a green interior or something like that.
It was the Green Goblin.
Yes.
It had a little bit of a Mazda feel to it. I remember not being, and I was thinking, because Fishburne has two. He's got a DB5 and he has a Vanquish.
What?
Yeah.
Let's get Fishburne.
Oh, you got to get him on. He's a total car freak, man.
Really?
Oh, hell yeah.
We'll call him right now. Let's get him on.
We're
doing the show right now, Titus. We're in. We're in right now.
Come on, baby. Let's go. Yeah.
Can I call you Larry?
Come over. Yeah, come over now. Bring your cars.
Bring the DB5.
Bring everyone.
But we're here to talk about you. Okay. And you are, when I put up a call for questions, I had to I always have to highlight the car angle as well. A lot of folks come on the show and they don't know that the people are on here just because they're famous and they're making TV shows, that they're not, they're also car people. You're a Bronco enthusiast. And am I wrong? Is that a new Bronco that you have?
No.
That's the same one you had last show?
It's the same one. I held on to it. I've held on to it because it was, I went on to do Jay's show and his producer said, "Oh, I have the same car." It was when they first came out. And he said, Can I check it out?
This is Steve.
Yeah. And then Steve Wright comes out and like he's seen a ghost. and he says, Did you buy this? And I said, no, I was leasing it. And he said, you have to buy this. And I said, why? He said, because it's a super, super low production number. He said, this car will be double what it's worth already. So I've held on to it. And I actually
why?
I love the car.
Why is that one a super low production number? Was it the year or that it was a 2-door or the color?
2-door, loaded with all the stuff. It's got those Broncos have Easter eggs all over them, which I didn't know. And then Steve started pointing out all these like weird Bronco hieroglyphics and shit that are all over the vehicle, which is crazy.
He's my Bronco guy. When I have a Bronco issue, I call Steve.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. He's the Bronco guru.
I did not know this.
And now has just broken cover. He also listens to the show. He's going to, hi, Steve. He's going to be very excited to know that we're chatting about him. But whenever I'm like, well, what top am I getting? Or what do I, he goes, hey, stand by. In fact, I think
stand by. Exactly.
He actually helped arrange with Jim Farley, my Bronco, my limited edition, Heritage Edition Bronco. It had traction, but not the traction it would soon have when Steve got involved.
Well, when Steve gets involved, he's kind of like my cue, right? To my Bronco bond.
Yes.
He was like, yeah, you need steps, you need side steps on this thing. And so of course he says, oh, we have a relationship with X company.
Yes.
And then when I got my wife with the 4-door ragtop Bronco, it was the rails and it's this and these lights and so I, in exchange for all of his kindness and generosity, I send him that big, giant Taschen coffee table book. The 2 volumes on cars, which is car porn. I'm sure you both have that one.
We send him. We bribe him with Sheffield watches, which he also.
Oh,
loves.
really?
Yeah.
Good note to self.
He always like, oh yeah, I bought one of the watches. I'm sending you 8 more.
Yeah.
Just go ahead. Here you go. Just keep the tops coming from Best Top. Just keep it all coming. Yes. What's really interesting about what you said though about the Bronco, for me it's my daily and it's my lease, and you know how you get to write off one lease for business and the rest of it. This is the first one where I've made a plan to buy this when the lease is up, and you're saying the same thing too. It's not really about rarity. It's just about I'm happy in this vehicle, and I want that to continue, and it feels special to me.
Yeah,
I want to keep it. I have a relationship with it.
So you got the Heritage. Is that the one with the white top and the white wheels?
It's got black wheels. There's a Heritage, and then there's a Heritage Limited. The Heritage is kind of, it's robin's egg blue, kind of like this Volkswagen behind us, with I think 35-inch tires. It's got a white top.
Yeah, it's Sasquatch.
It's a very happy presentation.
Yeah.
But it's more about, the number of drives where I'm just content.
Completely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just content, which is such a rare thing to have, where I'll get out of press cars for 2 weeks, and the first thing I get into is that Bronco, and I go, oh, I'm back. Yeah. I'm home. I've taken it out to the desert. The kids take it up skiing in the snow. It just delivers all over the place.
And it's zippy. It's a very
fast
zippy
enough
car.
Right.
That's a real rare occurrence. Like I have that with a couple of cars where you get out of a press car and it's in your own car and you're like, oh yeah, this is better.
Yeah, I'm home, right?
It's a lazy boy recliner, basically, with a cup holder. Let's face it.
I think
go back.
I just got an email that Jim Farley might be coming on the show, and at the same time, I was reading news that he had been prepping a whole new line of special Broncos.
Oh no!
Really?
This might undo everything we just said.
Yeah.
But
Tui on that. right. Yeah.
How about this Bronco? Okay, yeah. Sell the blue one. Get rid of it.
Ooh, that would be tough. Yeah, no, it's just it is that car, and it's ticks all the boxes.
Now, are you still in Topanga?
Yeah.
And how did you fare during the fires?
Fires got close. They got very close to Topanga town. Not all that close to my house, but close enough. So we had to evacuate.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Wow. For 11 days. We were in a hotel downtown. It was kind of touch and go. But I have to say, the firefighters came in, and there were firefighters up on our ridge from all over the place.
Yeah.
All over the country.
Las Vegas guys.
And
I
guys
met
from
in our
Canada,
neighborhood.
guys from Mexico, guys from the, unbeknownst to me, the Department of Corrections has a whole program. And I would be, when we were finally allowed to get back in, and they were up there clearing parts of land in that whole area and up and around my house. And so I drive by and they'd be waving. And one day, one of the battalion commander guys waved me down. He said, hey, would you mind taking pictures with some of my guys in my crew? And I said, no, of course. It would be my privilege to do that. And I get out and it's a whole gang of guys. And so we're taking pictures and all this. I turn around and realize they're all wearing orange jumpsuits that say DOC. Now I get a good look at them all, and they're hard looking dudes. Of course, within this program, none of these guys are violent offenders or anything like that, and it's actually an amazing program because the rate of recidivism is extremely low. I can't remember the percentage.
It's almost nil.
Almost nil. Yeah. And they were affable, sweet guys. And so then for like a week while they were there and they came and cleared a lot of stuff around my house, I would just kind of go out and hang around with them. But then we had the rains. And so now same scenario, Topanga's closed from like town all the way down. You can't access PCH. So
right.
What normally would take me maybe 40 minutes to get from my house to you here was just an hour and 25 minutes.
Oh boy.
Because the 101 has turned into a bad video game. I mean, so what's great is that the maps actually lead. I'm learning all these new ways through the valley and up through the hills to get dumped out onto the 405.
It is one of the biggest controversies right now on the West Side is, the people, the Palisades would like to be left alone with their tragedy. Yeah. The same with the folks in Malibu. Yep. I was out there. I did that long run and it was a ghost town out there and the businesses are suffering. And, at some point they've just got to open these roads up and we've all got to heal together.
Yep.
We've just got to do it.
Yeah.
I understand, especially with respect to the Palisades, why people want to keep people out, right? It's a tragedy and it feels like a very human feeling to just leave us be until we process this, right? But the reality is all of Los Angeles is traumatized by this.
Very much so.
And the sooner we get these roads open, the sooner we see it and process it and start building it back.
Yeah.
The better off LA is going to be. And it's time to kind of do that. And that doesn't mean you have to have PCH open at full speeds or anything else. But the rest of LA is a disaster right now with traffic. It is a disaster. I can't leave my house after 3 o'clock. I can't you just can't get out.
I agree. Because that is the Palisades was where my daughter went to school, graduated from Pali High. Mm-hmm. My wife's best friend, who's like my sister-in-law, she lost her house. Many friends. Our friend Mark Douglas, the producer. It's an endless list of people. And then there are the few friends that I had whose homes survived the fire in the Palisades, and they're more or less kind of okay, but they're not going back there.
Yeah.
What's there to go back to? Yeah.
He sent me a video, and there's his house, which is more or less pristine, and then the next door, the neighbors on either side, all the way down the street, it looks like Dresden.
Yeah. My kids go to Pali High. They haven't been back to the school, and I want them to get back there. I want them to see it. It's kind of like, I grew up Catholic, so when someone died, you'd have this wake where you open up the coffin, and you see the dead body, and it's kind of scary as a kid, but there's a moment of reality that hits in that moment when you see, what made this person is now gone.
Right.
And it begins this healing process. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I'm kind of advocating for, is like, it's time to let us all in. It's time to let us all go through this, and let's rebuild these cities better than before and get it going.
That grief is not exclusive, right? To those. And so I totally
That's a
agree
good way
with
of putting it.
There's a way to that where everyone, as hoogie bougie as it may sound, people, the LA needs to come together in a different way to ultimately heal, and that's what it's going to take, is to try to get back to some sense of normal, the new normal, as everything is being rebuilt. Because right now it's perpetuating or holding people back from being able to process.
And I'll tell you, Malibu, the small businesses out there are dying on the vine right now. They are dying on the vine.
Just to bring it back to the car radio part, like LA's a car town. So if you shut down roads, you're shutting down like part of the city.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? It just dies. There's no way to get to Malibu unless you have a car.
Right.
Yeah.
Just can't be done. You could be a maniac and bike, but no one's doing that.
Well, I know a lot of folks who have who live in Malibu and have kids going to school in Santa Monica, and that now is like you're saying, it's a 2-hour drive
How
each
are you
way.
doing that?
You don't do it.
Well, it's brutal. When we had the mudslides, you remember last year, my daughter was a senior at Pali, and we had to go down Tuna Canyon, and that what is normally a 35-minute drive from our house to Pali was well over an hour.
For school. It's ridiculous.
Coming back, it's to drive on Las Flores. Now you guys like that kind of driving.
Mm-hmm.
We
Very
do
much so.
Yes, tell us more.
I did not enjoy it, and so I made 2 passes coming over that canyon, and I had such an incredible panic attack, and it went back to years ago as a kid on a family trip with my father, driving through the mountains and down in the Yucatan and to a town called San Cristobal, where it's like those bad Facebook, YouTube videos where you've got, this much road, and it's and one wheel is just about, and there's no guardrail, and it's a straight drop down.
I love those roads. Yes, continue.
I remember my father going on a corner, and there was one of these buses filled with people, and we were in a Volkswagen camp bus, and the tire went down, and my old man, because he knew how to drive, he gunned it and got us out of there. But otherwise, it would have been instant death. So
yikes!
I realized that was the PTSD coming back from my childhood.
Little trauma.
That was not the option. So I went all the way out to Pepperdine, and would take me 2 hours to get home. But I was like, I'm all right with that.
Let's talk about RaceDeck. Over 2 decades ago, RaceDeck was invented, a cost-effective, durable, and truly do-it-yourself modular flooring system engineered for the garage. Maybe we need this in your home Bronco garage. RaceDeck's multi-patented design allows for easy do-it-yourself instruction with installation without all the hassles and mess of toxic epoxy coatings, transforming your garage in just hours, not days. Choose from over 20 styles to create the coolest garage on your block. It can handle vehicle rolling loads in excess of 80,000 pounds, doesn't chip, peel, or stain, over 33 patents with the product line, 20 styles to choose from, patented self-draining understructure like Johnny Lieberman has.
That's right.
Eliminating odor-causing mold and mildew, which is what Zuckerman needs. They manufacture 24/7 right here in the USA. Check them out. Shop at RaceDeck.com. Use code SPIKE911 for 15% off and free shipping. 15% off and free shipping. RaceDeck.com. There's Jorgen Mahler right there, the founder. And car collector. He's looking, I'm going to buy this. I have made so much money off this company. I'm going to buy this car too.
You could do a whole house like that.
All right. Well, there was a show. Was it 2014 that Michael Connolly said, I'm going to make a show called Bosch on this dinky little streamer called Amazon.
Yeah.
And here we are all these years later. It is the most successful and most viewed drama of any show that they've ever had. I'm just saying so because I work in TV and people will believe it, but that's what I read as well.
It's true, though.
It's true, though. Bosch Legacy is set to return in its third and final season on March 27th. This is one of our favorite shows.
Yeah.
I hate to fangirl out on you.
I don't.
But this is... When I hear there's a new season of Bosch coming, I get so excited. I go to Trader Joe's, I fill up the snack cabinet, and I get ready to watch. And I love that they're spaced out every week, so I don't have to burn through them all, because I would burn through all of them. But I want to go back. I saw Michael Connolly talking in a podcast maybe 4 years ago about how they cast you.
Sir, what you said about cops doing this?
Black Guardian cops.
Let me tell you something. Any police officer who might have had reason to cause your father harm is going to be a suspect. And if I can prove one did it, that's a killer, not a cop.
And I'm sure you know the story. Johnny, you probably don't know the story, but listen to the story.
Yeah.
This is great, because I've always said, people ask me about, like they must ask you about how to get in the show business.
Yeah.
And I say my things, but then I go, David Letterman once said this in addition, that it comes down to 3 words: pure dumb luck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and it's when pure dumb luck meets talent in the moment, right? That's what I would add to that. And that's kind of your story with this series. So here's what happens. They sell this show. They have 6 weeks to cast it, right? They hire a casting agency. Michael Connolly's involved, which is nice. They brought the literary guy in to do it. And they sit down, they submit, they have 5 or 6 pages of actors, right? And he's looking through the big names.
Titus, you know the story?
Won't
Sort of, kind of, yeah.
won't audition type names. We'll just give it to them. They don't really go into, detail. But Michael Connolly, who is just an avid fan of TV shows and media, watches a show called Touch with Kiefer Sutherland, which is the series that comes after 24.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And on this episode is this guy, Titus Welliver, who's projecting this inner turmoil, which he goes, this is the most important part of this character of Bosch. And here's this guy, he doesn't know who he is, but look at this guy's moves. He's able to act this inner turmoil out without saying, I have inner turmoil, right? And he's noticing your talent, right? And at the same time, he's trying to be very polite about the process of the casting, right? So they go in and they have the meeting with the casting people. They go through the 5 or 6 pages. He notices that Titus Welliver is not on the list, and he goes just kind of sheepishly, "What about this guy, Titus Welliver? We like him because he's nervous. He doesn't want to make it about him." And they say, "Oh, well, we love Titus, but he's away. He's out of the country shooting a movie." And he goes, "Okay," never gets this out of his head. They start going through the audition process, looking at names, looking different things, and he can't get you out of his head, right? And something happens with the schedule and things get delayed. And suddenly the casting people, who are also your biggest fans, are keeping track of you the whole time, talking to your agents, talking to your people. And you come home to visit your family. You missed your family. You wanted to spend a little time with them. And they say, "Can you just come in and read some lines?" Which, by the way, no one else is doing.
Yeah, nobody wants
to read. And it was the number one rule on Seinfeld. Like, if you don't read, you don't come on the show. And you say, sure. You visit with your family. You learn your lines. You walk into the room. The schedule has now changed to a point where it looks like you could do this.
Yeah.
You read a scene that you rehearsed on the plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
You walk out, and one of the other producers, Michael Connolly, doesn't say it. He already knows what he's thinking. Some other producer goes, I think we just met Bosch. Should we tell him? And they run out of the casting session to catch you before you leave. Is that true?
Sort of. Well, they kind of held me back a bit and said, we just want to have we're having a discussion. Can you hang out for a few minutes? And I thought that they were going to ask me to come back in and read some scenes again. And then they came back out after a few minutes, and it was actually Peter Jan-Brugge, who was one of our producers, and they cut me loose. And it was right by Fairfax on Sunset. And I got in my car, and I got maybe 3 or 4 minutes away, and my phone rang, and it was my manager, and he says, yeah, can I speak with Detective Harry Bosch, please? And so it doesn't register, and I say, what? What do you? And he said, yeah, is this Harry Bosch? It still doesn't register. And he says, where are you? I said, I'm on Sunset. I just left. I know. Just pull the car over. So I pull over right by that Chipotle that's still there. And he goes, it's you, man. You got it.
Wow.
And good thing I pulled the car over, because I would have driven into the oncoming traffic.
It's unbelievable.
And I lost it. And I thought, because, initially when I had first read that script, and I'd just been cast in the movie that I was doing was a Transformers film, which put me all over the place, including Hong Kong. So it was nuts, and it was at a very crazy time in my life. My late wife had just passed away about 9 months prior to that. So I was just going back to work, but I read, you read a lot of pilots, and I read this one in very short order, and I thought, you know what? This is built for me. I want this, but you do this long enough and you go, you never want to want anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Too much, because
It doesn't happen.
All you can do is go in the room. And I say this to young actors when they go, well, what's the thing? And I said, there is no secret. All you can do is do your best. And either they get it or they don't get it. And you have to learn to not take it personally, because it has nothing to do with it. And I remember being on set the first day, and we were moving at a rapid pace. They were literally ready before they cast me, because Michael had casting approval on Bosch. They were ready to shut down production and sort of regroup.
Wow.
A couple months later, because they just couldn't. So it came together. First day on set, and Connolly says to me, how long do you think you'd want to play this character? And I didn't, without hesitation, I said, I'll play him as long as they'll have me. And 10 years,
that is
10
the
years
right
later,
answer. That is the absolute right answer.
A great run.
These opportunities are so rare.
They're very rare.
You just got to run with them and ride them out as long as you can.
And this was like life-changing for you, because you were, an accomplished character actor at that point in your career.
A journeyman actor, as they like to say.
Look,
A minstrel.
Forget touch.
Carnival folk.
Forget touch. Real Titus fans watch Deadwood.
Yeah.
Like the craziest show of all time. And he's stealing every scene against Al Swearingen.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But this is your own
clinic.
series with your own character. And it's just, to me, it's so great, because it's that theory that, look, pure dumb luck meets talent. I mean, think about that. He goes home and he's like, I'm going to watch an episode of TV. I mean, there's so many other things that could have happened in that moment.
Yeah.
I see a guy. I love
Kiefer.
Guy. Timing works out. You walk in. Boom. It happens. Talent meets luck. And boom. Here we are in this moment all these years later. What is, tell us about the new season as much as you can tell us. What do we have in store?
Well, it's based on Desert Star, which is a couple novels ago, and in this one, it's a Bosch Ballard novel, and Maddie also shows up, because that relationship obviously continues, and it's an Ahab case for Bosch. It's an old unsolved case. It's a murder of an entire family, of a mother, a father, and their 2 children. We changed it a bit. But more or less, that's what he's chasing, except in this one, he's a private eye, and the mother of the wife is from Ireland, and she comes from Ireland, and she hires Bosch because she says, I'm not making any kind of headway. The cops have no leads. They've vanished.
Right.
And their vehicle was found in Mexico. And so it becomes, like all things with Bosch, he becomes obsessed with the case, and a lot of really deep, dark stuff unfolds. You're dealing with cartels, and there's a lot of stuff going on. I think it's one of my favorite books.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Because it goes into, and in the books, Harry's older than where I was. He's in his 70s in the books. But the interesting part about that is that the older that Harry gets, the more dangerous he becomes, because he moves a little bit slower. He's not the same guy that he was, but he still has this physical and mental skill set as a former cop and also a special forces operator, this muscle memory thing that makes him considerably more dangerous, because he's like that older dog that,
right.
Is missing a few teeth, but still has a lot of fight in him. And we had some, great guest stars that came in. There's stuff going on with Honey Chandler. Great, she's running for DA, and Madison Lint's character Maddie is now a cop, and there's that great juggling act where
really
she's looking at him and kind of going, "Hey man, you know what? I don't know what you're into and what you're up to, but I'm concerned about you." And he's always checking in with her. And she gets moved into a very elite unit in the police department, which puts her more in proximity to harm. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, my only sadness or regret is that we didn't get to, that we have this, but it's left kind of open-ended. But we also introduce, in the 10th episode, we introduce the Renee Ballard character, because we then spun off into the Ballard Show with Maggie Q. And so she came in, she's great, perfectly cast, wonderful actor. And with that show, I mean, a decade of doing that, you really do become a family.
Sure.
And there's that sort of, post, melancholy that sets in, and then but then you're excited because we had plans. I mean, there's an abundance of Harry Bosch stories to tell. And, And then sadly, we were told that they wouldn't be going any further. But I feel like, hopefully, in a dream world cafe, we would get maybe a movie or something like that to bring some resolution, because Harry Bosch isn't going anywhere.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? He doesn't ride off into the sunset. And the fans are, while they're excited about this season, they're also really pissed off.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
We are, yes.
a massive movement through social media, petitions, and these kind of public letters to the heads of Amazon.
Yeah. There's just not a lot to watch that we want to watch.
Yeah.
This is one of those shows. Why do you suppose it is? Do they worry about telling police stories? Is that it?
I think there was a minute where obviously the social contract that exists with, the police department, that work says that we say you do what you have to do to get the bad guys. And if
Right.
you cross lines, we don't necessarily want to know about it, with a degree, but when you've got all the stuff that we were witnessing, people being killed in custody and the shootings and stuff, that relationship became really marred on a grand scale. And so I think for a minute, people kind of went, I don't really want to watch it. But our show is always, it really truthfully depicts the world of, we've had some really dirty, bad cops.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the chief of police several years ago. I was at an event with Connolly. I don't remember what we were celebrating, but it was a thing through the LAPD. And the chief came over and we had this conversation. And I said, I just think it's funny that, cops really, they like this show because this is what you do for a living.
Yeah.
I don't want to go home at the end of a day and watch a show about actors. That would, but he said, well, because it's truthful. Mm-hmm. There's, obviously circumstances are elevated, for dramatic purposes, but the police stuff, the characters that inhabit that world that are in Bosch's orbit are all real people. And he's, I'm the chief of police, and I've worked with amazing cops, and there have been cops that I've had to basically, turn my back on because they had no business being in law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So I think we kind of moved past that, whereas it was not an LAPD recruiting film.
No.
You must be treated like a cop when you meet cops. I mean, and the general public too. Like even you just sitting there, I feel like I'm talking to a cop right now.
He's gonna kill you.
And a private detective, which he now plays a private detective.
Cops are cool. They're very a lot of times when they interact, they immediately call me Bosch. It's never, and then they'll correct themselves and say, "I'm sorry, that's not your name." And I know
you've really become that character. Do you worry that you won't be able to overcome that in your acting career, which is going to go on and do bigger and greater things? And
no, I mean, it would be very easy for networks and or producers and studios to come and say, hey, how about this? And, it's not to say that I would never want to play a cop again or a private eye again. Certainly. I mean, there's lots of ways, it's like rock and roll, right? There are 4 basic chords, and it's about how you don't necessarily reinvent the wheel. You just find another way to put it on the car or paint it.
We like watching you solve a case.
And I had real quick. I had the ultimate superfan experience. I got invited down by Mark Douglas. Last night, final scene.
Oh,
of
that's
the
right.
series.
You texted me after that,
and it was awesome to watch you. I won't give anything away, but man, it ends dark.
Oh, that's great.
It's really dark.
It's so cool how it ends, but it was also like a real treat to watch you because they had, I don't know, your final couple lines written, but you were like, let me try some stuff, and just like. Just more motherfuckers and more. It was really good, like the improv.
I also, don't you just love, I love Los Angeles. It's my home away from home. And I love that you celebrate the people and the locations.
100%.
I love
you should have
that
seen this
about this
location
show.
we were
I
at.
love it.
It was not pretty.
Spike's never been there.
Yeah. It's not a place you would want to roll up.
Actually, Spike was there 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Could have been.
But it was amazing though about it is you have, it's very Hollywood and actors and crew and all that, but you have what's her favorite? Mitzi.
Mitzi Roberts.
Roberts
and
and
detective.
So she's the Renee Ballard character is based on her.
Based
and then,
on her.
Another detective was
Tim
there.
Marsh.
So you have 2 cops sitting there.
Oh, really? That's great.
With Connolly, with the producers, and they're watching Titus work, and they're like, oh yeah, that's it.
NYPD Blue used to do the same thing.
Oh,
They bring cops into the writers' room and
they
tell
had
stories.
Bill Clark, I remember.
That's right.
I did.
That's right.
It's odd. I played a physician on NYPD Blue. I had a recurring character. First time I went in to meet with him, and that show was super hot, and I really wanted to do it, and I finally got the call from my manager. And I said, "Oh wow, what is he? What kind of cop is he?" And he went, "No, it's not a cop. He's a trauma surgeon in an ER." And I went, "They're never going to cast me in that role." And he went, "Well, that's the role they want to see you for." And I went. I remember I combed my hair and wore like a button-down shirt and wore my reading glasses, and went in and did it. And it was David Milch and Stephen Bochco and Mark Tinker in the room. And I did my thing, and I thought, I'm not going to get this. And so, but they were all very affable, and I remember, Bochco, he's no longer with us, sadly, but he was an amazing guy. And David Milch, who I then went on to do several other shows with, who's like a surrogate father.
Was he at the point where he was dictating scripts the day of, or did he have
that
stuff
was
actually
still
written down?
That was happening, but I wasn't aware of it at that point.
But but did you have sides, or did he say?
I did have sides.
That's good.
I had stuff to actually audition with. So I did it, and I don't know if you've ever seen David speak publicly, but he's from Buffalo, and he has a very interesting way of expressing. It's kind of like Joe Cocker. He does this thing when he talks with
I've met both those guys, and it's very accurate.
And Dave, and he has this way of talking. And so I kind of finish in there, and Steve and Tinker, and they say, great job. And Milch says, would you like to play this part? And I sort of looked and said, well, yeah, very, very much. And he went, well, the part's yours. And, that's it only happened one time before, and that was with Oliver Stone a million years prior to that on the Doors. And
you were in the Doors?
Yeah. I had a small part in that. And I said, wow, thank you. And as I was leaving, Milch called out to me and he said, don't forget to call your mom and dad. and that was the beginning of this, it was NYPD Blue, which they kept bringing. I thought, well, it was a one-shot thing, and they kept bringing me back. And then Sipowicz had ED, and then there was Jimmy Smits had and he was dealing with his alcoholism.
Right, that's a perfect setup for this.
Sipowicz had ED as the
Yeah.
And if you have ED, like Sipowicz, you need BlueChew. BlueChew is the original brand offering chewable tablets. These erection-enhancing tablets help people like, I guess, Dennis Franz, the actor who played Sipowicz, achieve strong, hard, long-lasting erections for sexual activities. BlueChew is putting its money where its mouth is and offering you free BlueChew for a month. Woo! Just like Sipowicz. This would have bypassed your ability to be on the show if they had just had BlueChew.
It came out later.
Unbelievable. BlueChew tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door. Does it work? Just ask Sipowicz. I can't get his face out of my head. Make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. Try your first month free. BlueChew is free. Just visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. We thank BlueChew for sponsoring the podcast. We also thank David Milch and Titus Welliver for that story. Well, we have a very nice car to talk about. The brand new 911 Carrera T. The baby collectible 911. Now, Johnny, I think you and I have both driven this car.
Yes.
I've had it for about a week. Titus is his first time seeing it. It's obviously a Euro spec. We're not just playing games with this license plate here. And, it's such an interesting car. It always fills in such an interesting little spot in the 911 lineup. First and foremost, it's the only place in the Carrera line where you can get a manual gearbox. It's got a 6-speed manual gearbox. It's an enthusiast car. Doesn't have back seats. It's got just your plain 2 seats. It always presents to me like if you're a guy who's got some money, but not enough money.
Well, plenty of money though.
To get your GT3, or you can't get the allocation and you want something a little more special than a regular 911, the 911T is that car. It's not limited, right? They're just going to make however many.
As far as I understand now, the T is regular production. The 992.2 just launched.
Yeah.
So this is like one of the first cars.
How far out are they from this being available on the market?
I think you can buy them now.
Yeah.
The thing is with all German cars, there seems to be this weird delay where they're out in Europe and there's like 2 or 3 months before it comes to the US. Obviously, it's not a US spec press car. But yeah, it's out now.
But let's go through some of the details. So 3-liter twin turbo flat 6. So not naturally aspirated like the GT cars.
Carryover engine from the last one. Yeah,
right. 388 horsepower, which is about 9-10 horsepower more.
There is a
larger turbochargers from prior generation 911 GTS models. So not the new. The GTS is now a hybrid 911.
Yeah.
And
it has 1 turbo instead of 2. Yeah.
I guess you could say in a way this is like the previous 911 GTS.
It's more like the Carrera S, but
yeah. Look, I've spent the week in it. It's such a likable car. It's got its own style. It's got the emblem across the top, which I like. It's got the wheels. I know you're saying you don't like them. I really.
I wouldn't get them, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's blue wheels. It's a thing.
As far as a car, like if you were someone who wanted a car that's usable and that you could drive every day, but didn't want a base 911 and you want to feel like you have something special, this just hits the sweet spot. It does what it needs to do on the road, right?
Yeah.
It's got enough power. and enough fun with the shifting gears where you go, this is an enthusiast car. But at the same time, you don't wake up in the morning on a Monday and go, oh, I don't want to get in that thing because it's so easy and it feels so light. And it is the lightest 911 in the Carrera range as well.
I think it's the lightest 911, period.
I'm not sure about that with the GT3s, but
it's like 100 pounds light. It should be 100 pounds lighter.
It feels
That's
like
significant.
Yeah, it feels like that for sure. I just found it that spending the week in it, I was driving it every day. It's one of those cars that just you get in, it doesn't matter what you're doing in it. You want to drive it. It's enjoyable. On the drive down here, I have to get on the 405 and I happen to come on to the, a little hot on the on-ramp right next to a guy in a GT3.
Nice.
And it was on.
Yes. But,
and I was in the club. I was in, that guy didn't turn his nose up to me, this hierarchy of Porsche guys, the GT3 guy isn't necessarily going to look at a 911, but he was looking at the Carrera T and I felt like, all right, I'm straddling two worlds, the production 911 and the GT collector world.
Look, the last day with the car, I remember turning into the go up my hill and having the thought man, I really just got to get a 911 because it's such a nice car.
So it made you feel that way.
Oh yeah. Oh,
what do you think of this shift knob right there? Look at
the knob is great. But here's my only problem with the car, and it's such a desperate, horrible fuck up on Porsche's part.
I think I know what it is.
It right there. I don't know if
it's below. If you go below where the
zoom in on it.
Oh, you can't put a big gulp in that.
No, right in front of the sunglasses, there are two letters.
It says.
See if you can reach in.
It says MT, which stands for
motor trend.
Yeah, that was my joke. It stands for manual transmission, and it's
that's stupid.
No shit, Doomkoffs. We know it's a manual transmission because we're looking at it.
There were some that would say the Porsche side emblem is no shit. We're looking at it.
It's just like showing your big dick and then shooting yourself in it. You don't need to do that. We understand.
I think it's one of those anti-American things. It's like, oh yeah, you Americans are so stupid. We will have to put the MT so you have a manual transmission.
They actually, yes, they do feel that 100%. But it's Porsche does these weird self-inflicted wounds. Remember, and I have a bunch of hats that say this. I wear them because I like the hat. But icons of cool.
Yeah.
First rule of Fight Club: don't say you're an icon of cool.
Right. First rule of comedy: don't say you're hilarious. A hilarious new thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Cameron, pull back to the side window right there and look at the emblem on that rear window. You're right in front of it. No, right on the side.
On the quarter window.
Yeah, there you go.
Little sticker. This also burns my ass.
This one I like.
No.
I found when I was walking up to the car, I'm like, Manual Transmission Preservation Society. For some reason, I enjoy this one because that emblem was in on 356s. The directional path of shifting was right there on the inner windshield.
I'd wear that on a shirt.
Yeah,
sure.
That looks cool.
But it's like putting your own face on your t-shirt. The manual transmission's in the car.
I'm saying pry off the other one and throw it out the window, but maybe keep this one because it's fun. It's fun.
Or don't, or put it on a hat or something. I don't know. It's just, again, it's great. And and the big news, the real story is they got rid of the Fakakta 7-speed in favor of a 6-speed.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's the same transmission. They just removed 7th gear, but it's so much better to shift now that there's not 5 forward positions. There's only 4. It radically makes it better. So,
but look,
if you did a good job.
There are a lot of folks out there that wanted an ST, couldn't get it, and this car isn't an ST, but it head in that direction, and it is fun, and you can pretend.
And at $155,565, it's half the price of an ST.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, the Carrera.
That's what this one is.
I know that's the problem. Yeah,
it's a little expensive. It's definitely a little.
This
expensive.
gen of 911, the 992.2, they just raised the prices. But why not? Because they're going to sell even more now.
There's also a Cabriolet Carrera T now too.
Is there?
Yes.
Oh, that's crazy.
They've opened it up to the cabs.
Oh, that's kind of.
It's got rear steering. For the first time, which is great.
Great. Yeah, I like rear steering. That's odd though, but and also it used to be that the T was the only way to get backseat delete in a non-GT. Now I believe it's standard 911s. There is no backseat unless you opt for it.
Yeah.
And it's a no cost option.
But now you can get the backseat in the GT3 Touring.
In the Touring only. Yeah.
How about steering wheel delete? Can we do that? Tire delete.
It's a beautiful car. I mean, the lines and everything. I mean, it definitely.
I do really love it. I could be very happy with this car.
Tell the truth, though, both of you guys. I know you guys opened it up. So how saucy did you get?
It's fast enough.
It still does 115 in third gear, just in case anyone's wondering.
That answers my. And how long have you been a member of the Communist Party, Mr. Lieberman?
The exhaust note isn't quite there, right? It's got Sport Plus mode. It's okay.
It's the 3-liter. It's still the base engine. You know?
And those wheels here, pull around to these wheels. Let me tell you something. The wheels are controversial. And
Well, Johnny says they look like a Smurf. He doesn't like them.
It's like a Smurf.
Can I tell you what I like about them? More and more wheel structure gets so complicated that when you want to give your car the horse bath, the quick bath, the quick clean, you get to the wheel part, you go, I'm not even going to bother because there are too many nooks and crannies.
Yes.
This one weirdly is flat in most places. So you can just take a microfiber and go right around it like I just did. Look at how clean that looks. That was just this morning. Each wheel took like 30 seconds of just a quick wipe.
But if they were just black or silver,
I'm sure you can do that.
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
That's fine.
You know.
I'm just saying the wheel structure.
No, and that's important. I mean, I'm going
nice.
through that right now. I got new brakes on my little Toyota and did some crazy driving yesterday. And I just have brake dust in like 10,000 little holes.
Oh yeah,
I'm
like that's so much work.
I looked at it and I'm like,
It's too much work, right?
Yeah.
The wheel designers need to take that
We
into
need
consideration.
self-cleaning
Maybe
wheels.
they already have.
Or
But what do you
moon
think?
discs.
What do you think?
I think it's a beautiful car. I would love to do 115 in third gear. On a
You would
car
just
like that.
you would love to push this through the gears on that road.
Yeah,
that
I like the
Johnny and
fact
like.
also that it doesn't have a back seat. I get it, but if you're going to have a vehicle like this, you're not driving your kids to school in this.
See, I would. That's just your.
Well, no, I just mean, and it would be.
He's a Bronco guy. This is his Saturday car.
That would be, yeah. Well, that would.
By the way, there
see,
are lots of Porsche guys who don't get the back seat, so they don't have to have the kids in the back.
That's
When my kids were little, it was like, yeah, bring that 997 GT3 RS over here
I
quick.
had the Audi TT
I want to have some
Roadster,
drives.
and I remember putting my kid in that car, and of course he only wanted to go to school in that car.
Yeah, of course.
And put the top down. I would say, buddy, it's February. We're not going to do that.
Do you have a Porsche? I thought I read somewhere.
I was gonna pull the trigger, and then
You were driving that
and then I
Target
got the notification that Bosch Legacy wasn't picked up.
Yeah, but
So they neutered me. They basically cockblocked my Porsche purchase.
Right.
That's okay.
Amazon, Bezos.
I thought I read somewhere that you had a first look deal with Amazon.
Yes,
that was just
that's
signed
true.
recently.
Yep, and
That's a big deal.
And
When one door closes, now it looks like 3 or 4 just opened. What are you going to do with that?
well, I'm look. You know what? I actually just met with them yesterday, so it's and was kind of learning the parameters of how that works. What are the expectations are on both sides? I've got a lot of ideas and things, and of course, I'm being hit left, from every angle from people that are friends who have great ideas and have IP and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things.
I've got a 2-word pitch. Let me give my 2-word pitch.
Okay,
You ready?
okay.
Hit it.
Bosch Lieberman.
I was going to say Bosch season 11, but Bosch Legacy.
Bosch Lieberman is way better.
No.
I don't know what the show is.
Bosch 911.
Bosch Lieberman. I don't just let me percolate on that for a little while,
Okay.
and I'll come back to you with a full
Titus
pitch.
is like, get me out of here.
But sometimes when you have a title like I had, here's what I had before: Car Matchmaker. We didn't know what the show was. That was 3 full seasons on NBC Universal. But Bosch Lieberman.
That could work. That
right.
could work.
Yeah.
He's a burly car lover, lumberjack looking guy. He's a cranky private eye. Together, they make magic.
We have. Let me do one more ad.
Could I
and then
get an upgrade from the car?
Yeah.
Actually, I kept the Bosch car.
Oh, yeah?
What is the Bosch car?
It's the Cherokee, but mine is the one from. There's a scene in which some things happen to the car, but I've got it in my backyard.
I did some consulting. Mark called me and said, what would Bosch drive if he wasn't driving a Cherokee?
Yeah. They brought in a car, and I went, no, this is a soccer mom car. Bosch
Right.
would not be.
Right.
I said, we're better
Right.
off. And Connolly and I had the conversation, and Mike said, I think he would just go and get another Cherokee.
Exactly right. Yeah.
There he goes.
Staying the same.
He's a repeat leaser. We're going to do one more ad, then we're going to do questions.
Is this hair replacement?
What's
We've done
that?
BlueChew.
No, when it comes to managing your money,
Ah.
technology today has made it easier than ever to place trades on your phone and be your own portfolio manager. Every time you hear that zap, that's our bug zapper.
Only 2 today.
Yeah. No, I know. It's been.
I thought you were secretly zapping Johnny.
No, with a
wishes.
shock collar. While this has reduced the need for investment managers, you still need financial advice. And Scholar Financial Advising is an independent, hourly, flat fee financial advisory firm that provides financial strategy and advice without you handing over to your accounts. You see what I mean? It's not when you put your money with them, you're just paying them an hourly fee instead of a percentage of your asset management fees, which means they'll just start trading like crazy to keep credit. Not Scholar Financial. And did I mention they're Porsche guys?
Yes.
Okay.
So we trust them.
Yes.
Yeah.
there's an
I don't know
inherent
why we trust
bond.
Porsche guys, but we trust them.
Right.
Scholar Financial will answer those daunting finance questions like how much should I be saving for retirement? When can I retire? How do I create a tax-efficient portfolio? And should there be a second season of Bosch Lieberman? Wait, how did that get in here?
I'll do.
Visit scholarfinancialadvising.com/spike911 to sign up for a completely free, no obligation call to see whether an independent hourly financial advice makes sense for your portfolio. Scholar Financial is a paying sponsor of Spike's Car Radio, and investing involves risks. You can read more about the risks of investing and conflicts of interest in the show notes. And thank you to Scholar Financial for jumping on the show.
Yeah.
We only want people with companies
that are Porsche related.
right.
Or boner medication.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Bosch mobile, Michael R. Delanian wants to know who approved the wheel tire setup on the Jeep that Bosch drives. How would you know that?
Nobody approved it. It was just it came that way.
Was there an XJ involved in this? A Jaguar XJ?
No, it's a Cherokee XJ.
Oh, it's a Cherokee. Yeah. Did you enjoy driving it? What was it really like to drive?
Not a bad car to drive. I had one back in the day in the 80s, but we had 3 of them, and they were in a constant state of disrepair. I was almost asphyxiated one time doing a scene, and was basically had to leave set and go home because I was ready to pass out. But it was fine, and we drove them hard. And all that stunt stuff that we did when they would let me do it, or my stunt double, we really beat on those cars, and they took it.
Wow. It's Miller time, 8:13. Did you get to rip around in any of the cars in Transformers? Did they ever let you drive them? Did Michael Bay go ahead?
Yeah, I got to drive my daughter in Bumblebee, which was really, really cool. That car is insanely fast. Obviously, those cars are built to do what they do in the films. And my kids got to ride an Optimus Prime.
Whoa!
And got to sit in the Lamborghini, and which was actually Bay bought the Lamborghinis that were used in it, so those were his. Didn't get to drive that. I do recall that he offered to let me drive the Lambo, and I was too nervous and said no, I'll pass.
We can get you a Lambo,
but I got to drive in it.
Yeah.
And what a car. But
Yeah.
I got to play in all those vehicles.
BroDog26, what is your favorite part about your Bronco? What do you love most about it?
I like how responsive it is. I like how zippy it is, particularly in LA traffic. And I like, it's got a lifter kit, so I can see everywhere. And I feel like it's just a safe car, but I like the fact that it's very, very responsive.
I love the way it looks. My car.
Yeah.
I love the way that thing looks. I love the seating position.
Yeah.
The steering, the bouncy nature of those tires bouncing around on the road. There's so much I like about it. Oh, I'm in love with that car.
Yeah.
We should just rename this the Bronco Podcast.
The Bronco Podcast.
What if we stopped caring about Porsches and just became only Bronco people?
I think a lot of people would support that.
Yeah, that's true.
Based on the comments.
Yeah,
they would.
Look, everything they said was about Porsche, man. I go, have you not been paying attention for the last 7 years?
All Bronco.
It's a Porsche-centric podcast.
Clearly, I need to come back next time and have a Porsche in hand so I can have a different conversation.
No. We'll talk about Broncos as much as you want. I love Broncos. ToyTech98 wants to know. He doesn't say what to ask, but ask him about his small role on the NBC show Life.
Yeah, with Damian Lewis. That was a lot of fun. I got to play a religious zealot who was like a con man. And it was a short-lived show because then the writer's strike happened. Thanks, Spike. And the show didn't end up coming back, but it was with Damian Lewis and Adam Arkin. It was a really well-written show, and I'm glad that I at least got to go and play with those guys.
Go-Kart Carson wants to know, and I think this is because I think in real life you like classic rock and you like blues, and in the show, Bosch is a jazz enthusiast. But what is your favorite vinyl in real life?
In real life, I go back to I like listening to jazz on vinyl, but Steely Dan and the Stones and the Beatles and Zeppelin, everything sounds better on vinyl. So I don't want to say that I lean into anything specifically, although jazz does really sound much better on vinyl.
Was the jazz part of the Bosch characters in the book, or is that something you contributed to the show?
No, that's Connolly's thing, because he has an encyclopedic knowledge and love of jazz, so that's part of the whole character. And I love jazz, but it wasn't until I met Mike, and then he started to turn me on to stuff that I was completely unaware of, artists and albums and Japanese imports and stuff like that.
Track down, it's called The Great Concert of Charles Mingus. It's Paris, I think 61. It's 3 record.
Yep.
It's insane. It's such a good album.
I met him quite a few times, Mingus, because he was good friends with my dad.
You met Mingus?
Which was, and he was a trip.
Yeah.
He was a trip. And he actually let me wear his big, crazy, furry hat that his Afghanistan diplomat's hat.
Have you read Beneath the Underdog?
Yeah.
I mean, that...
And Myself When I'm Real. Have you read that?
No.
The Mingus book?
No. But Beneath the Underdog, I was like, here's the best... I mean, forget about bass player, like, jazz arranger in history. And it turns out he's a better writer than he is a musician. Like, that's the greatest book.
Yeah.
I read every musician biography I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
And that and Miles Davis.
Well, and also, Zappa's kind of that same, although Zappa was a brilliant great musician as well. Yeah. But, the sort of the same ilk. I mean, those guys were... savants. They just had a gift that just was
Mingus.
endless.
That's nuts.
That's another pitch.
Yeah.
Bosch Mingus. Let's do that show. That's the
Bosch becomes a medium. He starts playing around with a Ouija board and brings back the spirit of Mingus.
Ghost of Mingus.
Look, man, AI can do anything.
I'm in. I'm 100%.
I can 3D print Mingus and put AI in his. We'll talk after the show.
All right,
this is easy shit. I want to ask you about Bosch's house. Do you still have that house on the stilts? That beautiful house?
Yeah.
Do you still shoot there?
No, they don't. Well, no. I mean, it's in the season, and we got back to the house.
Whose house is it? Who's the guy that lives in the house?
It's owned by a guy. Last I heard was a guy who owns the Pleasure Chest.
Oh, really?
True story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Pleasure Chest, if you don't know, is an adult film and device.
Let's call it what it is.
It's in West Hollywood.
It's a porn store.
It's, I've seen some stuff there.
So the Pleasure Chest guy is, but wow, I didn't know that connection.
Yeah. They sell thermoses with batteries. It's yeah.
I've been to the Trashy Mansion.
And does
Trashy
he
Lingerie has a mansion?
Really?
Yeah. It's called the Trashy Mansion. It's great.
Does he
next to the Magic Castle?
Does he like the show coming in there to shoot, or is it difficult every season to lock?
He doesn't
that place
live there.
down?
I think it's a little pied-a-terre in town. And also, after we shot the pilot and started the first season, he then took the money from us renting the house from him and did a big kitchen remodel. So we had to do this whole story thing around that. And I was like,
yeah, where's Bosch getting the money for this new
by the
kitchen?
way, did you ever see Bosch really cooking anything?
No, never.
No, it's all takeout.
That's right.
Magnus Walker lived in that house for a while.
He did?
Yeah, he was I forget.
Look at the interconnectivity of that.
Yeah. Magnus is a big Porsche collector.
The Pleasure Chest. Magnus.
He's a big customer at the Pleasure Chest.
And he's a big customer at the Pleasure Chest. Yeah. You're right.
It was something like he met the guy and he said, let me rent it for like 3 months, and he wound up living there for a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was Amy Brenneman's house in Heat. That's the first time that was ever seen.
Oh, that's right.
And she worked at a bookstore.
Michael Mann.
And she dated Magnus. who
And
also,
she shoved
if
in the
you
pleasure chest.
arrange the letters of Magnus, it's Mingus.
Wait a minute.
Maybe we're going too deep here.
Bosch, Mingus, Magnus.
Hold on. Bosch Magnus is my next pitch.
We're launching a Discovery Channel show, clearly.
All right, I have one more question, then we got to get out of here. Cypher's photo is asking what I would be asking too, because the two of us read a lot of Michael Connelly novels. They're my favorite. I love his books. But a lot of times, in the one I'm reading right now, Bosch and the Lincoln Lawyer are in it together.
Yeah.
Is that going to happen?
Never going to happen because the rights are owned at a different place. So there was no way for us to ever cross-pollinate, sadly, because Lincoln Lawyer is a great show. And we were shooting 3 blocks away from each other as we were shooting this final season of Bosch. And we went and did a sneak attack on those guys. and so there are actually pictures of Harry Bosch and Mickey Holler together, which a lot of, the people who read the books know that they're half brothers, but sadly, no, that was, and McConaughey, when I first, because he was very good friends with my late wife, McConaughey, I went to a premiere of a film that he was doing. Bosch had just come out. And so Matt and I were sort of, before we were going to the red carpet, and Matthew goes, hey, Titus, you want to really fuck around with the reporters here? Because they're what they're thinking. And I went, well, what do you mean? He went, just go with my thing. So of course we get up to the red carpet, and it's like E.T. or one of those guys are like, oh my God, it's Harry Bosch and the Lincoln Lawyer, the half brothers. Are we going to see, are you going to show up on? And of course, Matthew, he goes, well, I can't really say anything. We can't really talk about that. I'm like, it's not. And I knew it was never going to happen. And I just thought it was really mean-spirited and torturous. But alas, no, it never happened.
It could happen. These are just rights. These are just conversations with lawyers.
They got X-Men back at Disney.
What's that?
They got X-Men back at Disney.
I just love the novels where the both of you are in there together.
We're just fighting right now with Johnny's lawyers to get this whole name clearance thing so we can do our
Bosch
show
Lieberman.
together.
Yeah, Bosch Lieberman.
Adding in.
But there are all these moments where Bosch is driving and the Lincoln Lawyer hops into the back seat and the Bosch character gets pissed.
He gets pissed off. He doesn't. He doesn't like. He's like, I'm not your driver.
I'm not your fucking driver.
He gets really pissed. But that relationship is a great relationship in the books. And so the closest, what they tried to do was kind of make the relationship with Chandler and Bosch mimic it a bit. But, it's such a cool backstory. And we did do that one little flashback where my elder son played Bosch as a young cop in his 20s, where Bosch goes to see his father in season 1 of Legacy. And as the little kid answers the door, you hear him shout out, and he goes, hey, what did I tell you about letting people in? And he goes, go finish your homework. And the little kid goes, all right. And it's got and there's a Lincoln in the driveway.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
So we were at least, which, that got by the Amazon guys, and when they realized that it was too late.
Nice.
Another Easter egg.
The new season of Bosch Legacy set to debut in its 3rd and final season, March 27th on Prime Video. Titus, thanks for coming by. Good to see you again, man.
Great to see you, man.
We're going to award you for our repeat guests, one of our Sheffield Spike's Car Radio watches.
Nice. Thank you, guys.
And we'll see you next week on Spike's Car Radio.